Well, we kick off this morning and looking at an article that has been penned by Professor Junaid Ahmad out of Pakistan, stating that Rawalpindi's heroes, or Pakistan's heroes, are not in Rawalpindi, not in Islamabad, not in the palatial cantonments that dot the land like parasites. They are in the open sea carrying bread where others carry bombs, carrying hope where others carry shame. And this is with reference to the global Sumud flotilla. Professor Junaid Ahmed, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome and Jazakallah khairan as always for your time.
Walaikum salam. Good to be with you. You were saying, as you were restating the title of that article, I was wondering maybe I should be on the seas seeking asylum in South Africa.
Well, I think, I would have loved to be on the seas as part of the global Sumud flotilla, if I could, because, you make a very, very telling point in this article. There's just so much that one can actually unpack. And
Yeah.
yeah, you are talking about five Pakistani nationals who are part of this global Sumud flotilla. And this includes the former Senator Mushtaq Ahmad Khan.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, he was former senator with the Jamaat Islami. Now, I mean, our audience should realize that the 250 million people of Pakistan would want to go on this mission. That is a sentiment within the country, and in some ways, that article is what I was trying to capture. That the generals and the military and political elites have no interest in this whatsoever. In fact, if anything, they would like closer relations with Tel Aviv in order to get closer relations to Washington. So these five men from Pakistan were able to make it, and I think it's becoming a bit more expansive than before. The flotillas exclusively, almost exclusively people in the West and so on. I think the good thing about it now is that they are really expanding. People in Pakistan know what this is all about. It must shock all of us that in the past, the flotillas, people that knew about it were mainly in the West. The Muslim world didn't even know that these were coming. So that's the good thing. But we'll have to see what kind of challenges it'll face.
Yes, and also I think in this article, Prof, you draw comparisons and parallels between people, ordinary people, who have joined this flotilla, and you speak about generals, you speak about military, and this obviously tells us a completely different story where one actually can see the huge gap between what the military elite think compared to the people on the ground.
Unquestionably so. I think since the country is one in which, okay, I'll give them 0.1%, 99.9% with the Palestinians. I may have even mentioned this on this show before, but a very credible um, scholar from the Arab world said that he had not seen a country more pro-Palestinian than Pakistan. So, because of the fact of that 99.9%, the 0.1% were the good old liberals of our country that at least 2-3 years ago would be pontificating of how great everything is in the West and democracy, human rights, freedoms, but now they're pretty silent themselves as well. But uh, but yes, the generals have tried before, or going maybe even before, but certainly during General Musharraf at the beginning of the 2000s, and the a very, I would say, stupid attempt during the rule of Imran Khan to get this on the agenda as the United States was trying to get the Arab countries and the Abraham Accords, and Saudi Arabia is still supposed to be the big prize. What people don't realize, actually, the biggest prize is Pakistan. Pakistan, this huge country with nuclear weapons, that is the country to be pacified. And the military elites were very jealous that India was getting all of this surveillance technology and sharing of intelligence. They would have loved to do it, but there's no way they can. They can do it in Pakistan, not just because of Imran Khan, but because of all Pakistanis.
Yes, but also I think, like I mentioned right at the beginning, this article actually speaks to Muslim leadership
Yeah.
right across the entire world, and the people on the ground. Because you make a very telling point in the article, and I'd like to paraphrase, where you talk about they are so busy polishing their boots on American rugs that they cannot even spare even a bullet, not even a whisper for Gaza. Now, this statement alone speaks volumes, bro. I think we have lost Professor Junaid Ahmed. We're going to try and get hold of him. But just to continue with what the professor is saying here, is he speaks about polishing the boots of American rugs, and they distribute medals to Washington's most fanatical Zionists, as though the Holocaust itself were reborn not in Gaza but in Rawalpindi's banquet hall, where the generals toast with their patrons. They even had the gall to suggest a Nobel Peace Prize for the man affectionately nicknamed as Holocaust Donald. One wonders whether the general sense of irony has been surgically removed along with their spines. Now, this is a very, very powerful article that Professor Junaid Ahmed has actually written, and hopefully, we are going to try and get back to him because I think this is absolutely critical. This is important. Five people out of a population of 250 million on the global portfolio. Professor Junaid, just coming back to, I'm not too sure
Yes.
whether you caught the last bit that I had actually mentioned to you. And here again, you speak about polishing their boots on the rugs of the American rugs. They can't even spare a bullet, not even a whisper for Gaza.
No, it's, and I write these things. They may seem very sharp and bitter and scathing, but it's because of the anger within, I think, all of us, that something like this is happening in front of the ummah, and we cannot do anything about it. So it comes from very deep frustration, and I think you're absolutely correct. Obviously the country of my own country, Pakistan. I've used that as the example, but that is the way it's going all over the Muslim world now. Pakistan has the largest military, fifth largest military and nuclear weapons. So I do think there's an additional burden on Pakistan. But look at what just happened in Qatar. I mean, if this was only about kind of, okay, throwing away money, the Zionists are giving money. Qatar just gave Trump a new $450 billion plane. Beyond that, who knows how many billions and trillions are being. What difference did it make? Israelis went and bombed Qatar. I mean, one thinks that what self-respect do these Muslim rulers have? Nothing. I mean, they have no self-respect whatsoever. If you can tolerate this happening to you, and this has always been the case with Pakistan as well. Once again, probably we'll have new name, not Blackwater, new name, these types of private security contractors coming in the country, left, right, and center. So it's a time in the Muslim world in which empire and Zionism has been incredibly violent, has made some gains here and there, but ironically, I also think that these are symptoms of their ultimate demise, the completely pathological, or they way in which they're behaving. I really do think that despite the incredible horror we're seeing right now, this is the beginning of the end of these imperial projects.
Well, it certainly is, and I think the signs are there. It's very, very strong, and also the beginning of the end of Israel as well, because we know that they would not go to, like you mentioned, the Qatar incident as well, to go to that extent if they knew that they've achieved their objectives, and even in Gaza itself, they
Yeah.
haven't achieved their objectives, and once again, uh, exposing those that needed to be exposed. And this is what you allude to in your article as well. You speak about Pakistan, you speak about the military, you speak about the generals, you also speak about the media, you speak about the
Mm.
press. And this is a problem right across the entire Muslim world. You make reference to safer to report on cricket scores and celebrity weddings rather than reporting on the flotilla. And again, We find this across the entire world as well, Saudi Arabia included, entertainment galore, all of that while this brutal genocide is playing out.
Brother, when the regime change happened against Imran Khan, uh, his name could not be uttered in any newspaper or on channels. I mean, this is the type of climate that we've been living in, and of course, on this Israel Palestine thing, they can't shut people up. In fact, in some ways, I often say these rulers themselves are so nervous and anxious that sometimes these types of issues, something going on in Palestine or Iraq, they'll let the people come out and let off some of their steam as long as they are not targeted themselves. This is also a trick that many of these Muslim governments do, but like I said, what I've written about Pakistan and the guardians of the state, the generals and the corrupt political mafias, it is akin to so many other Muslim countries. Again, where the populations completely want ties. If they had ties with Israel broken, they want some type of an action. Pakistan, Turkey. Look at the size of these countries. And that's what I said. Forget about sending them F-16s or tanks. Have they sent them one bullet, a pocket knife, a pair of scissors? I mean, anything to defend themselves. So we really, really need to be at this particular stage. Really need to reflect upon what is going on wrong with the ummah.
Well, certainly, and also I think when you speak of a population of 250 million, you question the fact why only five, why not 50,000 that would join this flotilla, and even if you're saying that what they are not going to liberate Palestine, they will not stop their genocide, but it's an act, it's an action that carries so much symbolic power, and that symbolic power is in the hands of ordinary people, ordinary citizens.
Right, right, and as Muslims, we all obviously know the hadith. Whatever we can do, but you have to do something. It has to be somewhere, either for physical actions in your heart and your mind. This needs what's going on in front of us. I call it the moral issue. I hope so. I hope we don't see anything worse than this. The moral issue of our lifetimes. It is the Holocaust of the time. And so if one was never active before in any social political issues, this is the time to do it and to be ready for the day of Qiyamah, in my view, because this what we are seeing now nonstop, and for all of these Muslim countries, and let's be very blunt about it. There have been non-Muslim countries that have done far more in terms of supporting Palestine, in terms of embargoes on oil supplies, this type of thing. Colombia, Venezuela, other countries, etc. So we really have to think of what has gone wrong with our priorities. We really need to hold our leaders accountable for this and say that this is just absolute madness. I mean, this is, we may not be scholars of Islam or the Quran, but I think we pretty much know that this type of behavior, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala really calls us to kind of confront. I mean, this is the behavior you must confront. There's no option in this situation. And so, this is I think what I'm speaking to. I've been writing. I speak to others, and it's the same exact passion that they have. Of course, many of us, we live in police states in which we can't just go around saying that, or else we'll get tortured, disappeared, or whatever. But that, I think, is the inner passion and desire of the vast majority of the ummah. And I think you'd agree.
Well, we certainly do. And I think, the other most important issue is, and I say it repeatedly, that Gaza has actually changed what a new world order is looking like. And this is exactly what we are seeing, where ordinary people are taking to the streets, ordinary people are taking to the seas. And while the leadership, while those who are in power, who assume that they are in power, are basically impotent. And even with the latest attack on Qatar as well, when one compares the statements that have come out from the Muslim leadership right across the entire world, once again relying on the very institutions that have actually let the world down.
Yes.
The United Nations and the like as well. And you mentioned non-Muslim countries, countries like Venezuela, Colombia, Ireland. Recently, we see in Spain as
Mm.
well, a total arms embargo against Israel. Yet we see trade as normal, trade as usual. We haven't heard of sanctioning, Israel from the Emiratis, or Turkey closing the pipeline. The 60% of the oil comes through to through Turkish pipelines. We don't see any of that happening in the Muslim
Yeah.
world in terms of drastic measures and drastic action that would hurt Israel and that
Yeah.
would really hurt them.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this I think specific article was precipitated by the fact where some Pakistani students of mine, they said that, oh, didn't you hear the defense minister? He said the Muslim world should unite against Israel. I'm like, yeah, well, after 2 years of seeing this, and I mean, is he? So I mean, this is drama. This is theater. This is fraud. I think that we must realize, as an ummah, that majority of our leaders are very much in the overall framework and architecture of imperialist Zionist control in the Middle East, throughout the Muslim world. The Muslim countries that are trying to do it, they then not only have to confront the Western imperialist powers and Zionism, but even their own collaborators within their own countries that are collaborating with the West. And Pakistan knows that better than any other country. But we are encouraged by groups in countries like Malaysia and so on that keep the pressure on. South Africa, of course, is an inspiration for all of us. It is the guidepost. And so I think that we're in a very violent phase. We don't want to kind of really sugarcoat what's going on. We're in a very violent phase in which the Zionist state, Israel, is pretty much able to do whatever it wants. I don't. One does not want to go into the analysis of this because it's nothing you've ever heard of. Where in the United States, you can criticize and say anything you want about the US government, but you cannot criticize the Israeli government. I have never heard of such a phenomena. You cannot criticize the Israeli government. So, right now, we are going through a period of both immense violence, but the other part of that, if you can say the good part of that, is everything is being unmasked. We are seeing clearly what's going on when the Harvard University presidents are being fired. The Zionist billionaires, we're taking back our $800 million. So everything's being unmasked now, and I think that this is very good for younger generations in the West. I'm speaking about in the West, younger Jews as well, seeing that, wow, this whole artifice was built on slaughter, dispossession, ethnic cleansing, genocide. So in the world of social media, poor Israel is now their genocide has been live streamed. So, and we can't go back now. So, inshallah, that's the hope that we've seen it and we can move on to make something much, much better.
Well, Prof, I just wish we had more time, but unfortunately, time has run out. But as always, we do appreciate you taking time out. Jazakallah khairan so much for that
Likewise.
and for sharing what you have with us right here on Salam Media. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you.
Walaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Professor Junaid Ahmad joining us out of Pakistan, also out of the United States this morning. He's not in Pakistan. Professor of Law, Religion, and Global Politics, Director of the Center for Study of Islam and Decolonization. With that, we're going for a break. We come back. We're looking at Somaliland's dilemma, sovereignty or complicity in Gaza displacement with Mariam Juma Karikchi.